Level 1. The Idealist. You join the DEA when you're 23. Fresh out of the academy, clean record, perfect scores on firearms and tactical training. You believe the story they tell you during graduation? You are here to stop the drug war, to protect cities, to dismantle cartels, to make a difference. Your parents sit in the crowd while you receive your badge. Your mother cries, your father shakes your hand and says he's proud. You believe this job means something. Your first assignment is Phoenix. Hot desert air, concrete strip malls, warehouses full of things no one talks about. The Phoenix Field Division handles one of the busiest drug corridors in the country. Everything moving north from Mexico passes through here. Meth, heroin, fentanyl, cocaine. You start small. Long hours in an unmarked car, watching a warehouse from across the street, writing down license plates, tracking trucks that move in and out at odd hours. You drink gas station coffee and stare through binoculars. Sometimes nothing happens for 12 hours. Sometimes everything happens in 30 seconds. One night, a convoy of SUVs pulls into the warehouse parking lot. Your partner nudges you. That's them. You call it in. Within minutes, a tactical team rolls in. Black vans, armored vehicles, agents in ballistic vests. The doors explode open. People run. Someone fires a gun. 2 minutes later, it's over. Inside the warehouse, they find 6 kilograms of cocaine, 3 assault rifles, and a duffel bag filled with cash. You help count it back at the office. Stacks of $100 bills. The total comes to $127,000. Everything goes into an evidence locker. You file your report, your first successful operation. That night, you celebrate with your team at a bar near the office. Your partner buys the first round, then the second. You notice something strange. Nobody talks about the raid. They talk about fishing trips, football games, vacation houses. One of the older agents leans over to you. How much money did we seize today? About $127,000. He laughs. You're new. The next morning, you check the official seizure report. It says $98,000. You assume it's a typo. You ask your supervisor. He stares at you for a moment. Then he closes the office door. Listen carefully. Some things don't need to be written down. You don't understand what he means. Not yet, but over the next year, you start noticing patterns. Level 2. The Informant Game. 2 years later, you aren't the rookie anymore. Now you run informants. Confidential sources who operate inside the drug trade. They give information. You give them money, or protection, or both. One of your informants is a small-time trafficker named Luis. Luis sells fentanyl pills in nightclubs, but he also knows people higher up. He starts bringing you useful tips. A stash house in Mesa. A courier moving meth through Tucson. Each time you raid one of these locations, the DEA pays Luis a reward. $5,000, $10,000, sometimes more. Your supervisor tells you informants are messy. They lie, they cheat, they steal. But they're still the best tool we have. Luis becomes valuable. He knows the routes. He knows the drivers. He knows which shipments matter. One night he calls you after midnight. He says a shipment will arrive in the morning. 2 cars, hidden compartments. You set up surveillance. The bust is perfect. 4 kilograms of fentanyl. 2 arrests, another seizure of cash. Luis gets a reward payment of $20,000. You meet him in a parking lot to hand it over. He counts the money slowly. Then he smiles. You know something funny? What? The cartel wanted to pay me for keeping quiet. You don't respond. Luis reaches into his jacket. He pulls out an envelope. He sets it on the hood of your car. You made sure I wasn't in that house when you raided it? Inside the envelope is $15,000. Your first instinct is to refuse. You're a federal agent. You can't take money from a trafficker. But then Luis says something else. Everyone else already does. You hesitate. You look around the empty parking lot. No cameras, no witnesses, just the sound of traffic in the distance. You pick up the envelope. You tell yourself it's just this once. Level 3. The Evidence Room. 5 years into the job, you understand how things really work. The drug war isn't clean. It's not even organized. It's a constant stream of seizures. Money, drugs, weapons, all of it passes through the evidence room. And the evidence room has a problem. Nobody watches it closely. Every raid produces piles of cash, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions. It all gets counted, logged, stored, but the process depends on people, and people make adjustments. One of the technicians in the evidence room is named Carter. Carter has worked there for 10 years. He knows every blind spot in the camera system. One afternoon, he pulls you aside. Let me ask you something. When you seize cash, who verifies the count? 2 agents. And who verifies them? You realize what he's implying. Most of the time, no one double checks. The paperwork becomes the truth, not the cash. A week later, you seize money during another raid. The report says $410,000. The actual count is $470,000. Carter closes the locker. He looks at you. Paperwork says 410. Everything else disappears. You don't answer, but you also don't stop him. 3 days later, Carter hands you a gym bag. Inside is your share, $40,000. You tell yourself it's not hurting anyone. The money belonged to traffickers. It would disappear into government accounts anyway. At least now someone is using it. Your bank account starts growing. You pay off your student loans. You upgrade your car. Your coworkers notice. But nobody asks questions because they already know the answers. Level 4. The Protection Deal 3. Your reputation starts spreading, not within the DEA, within the streets. People begin to understand something. If your name appears on an investigation, things go differently. Sometimes raids get delayed, sometimes search warrants never get signed, sometimes entire cases quietly disappear. One evening you receive a message through an informant. Someone wants to meet you. You shouldn't go. Federal agents aren't supposed to meet traffickers privately, but curiosity wins. The meeting happens in the back room of a restaurant. 2 men wait for you. They aren't street dealers. They wear expensive watches. One of them slides a photograph across the table. It's you, walking into the DEA building. The other man speaks calmly. You control investigations in this district. That's valuable. They make an offer. $50,000 a month in exchange for information, warning about raids and selective enforcement. They don't ask you to stop the drug trade, just to manage it. You leave without answering. For 2 weeks you try to ignore the offer, but then you start doing the math. Your DEA salary is $92,000 a year. The cartel is offering 6 times that, every year, tax-free. 2 weeks later, you return to the restaurant. You sit down. The same 2 men wait for you. You say one word, okay. The first payment arrives the next day. Cash delivered in a locked briefcase. That night, you sit alone in your apartment, staring at the money on the table. You tell yourself you are still in control, that you can stop whenever you want. But corruption doesn't work that way, because once someone pays you, they own you. And this is only level 4. The real power comes next. Level 5. The Shadow Network. The first payment feels unreal. $50,000 in a locked briefcase. You count it 3 times before putting it in a safe. For a few weeks, nothing changes. You still go to the office. You still file reports. You still wear the badge. But now there are phone calls. Not on your government phone. On a cheap burner you bought with cash. A man you've never met tells you things. There's a shipment moving Thursday night. Don't send patrols to Interstate 10. You don't ask questions. You simply make adjustments. A surveillance team gets reassigned. A warrant request sits unsigned on your desk. A patrol unit gets redirected across town. And the shipment moves through Phoenix without a single police light flashing. The cartel keeps its promise. Another briefcase arrives the following month. Then another. Soon the payments become routine. But something else happens too. You begin noticing other agents who act the same way you do. Agents who avoid certain investigations. Agents who quietly shut down cases. Agents who seem to know exactly when raids will happen. One night after work, a senior agent named Mitchell invites you to a bar. Mitchell has been with the DEA for 18 years. He orders 2 drinks. Then he leans forward. You're working with them, aren't you? Your hand freezes on the glass. You don't answer. Mitchell smiles. Relax. So am I. He explains how it works. There isn't just one corrupt agent. There are several. Some in DEA, some in local police, even a few in customs. They don't call it corruption. They call it stability. Cartels move product. Law enforcement keeps violence low. Everyone gets paid. Mitchell calls it the Shadow Network, and now you're part of it. Level 6, the Power Broker. 5 years after that first envelope, your life looks very different. You no longer worry about money. Your apartment becomes a house. Your car becomes a black Mercedes. You take vacations in places your DEA salary could never afford, but the real change isn't the money, it's the power. Cartels now ask you before moving shipments, not after. They want to know which highways are safe, which warehouses are under surveillance, which rival groups are about to get raided. You decide who gets protection and who doesn't. Sometimes you still arrest traffickers, but only the ones who don't cooperate, or the ones who refuse to pay. Those arrests make you look like a hero inside the DEA. Your supervisors praise your case numbers. Your reputation grows. You get promoted to a supervisory position. Now you control multiple investigations. That means something even more valuable. Information, every case file, every surveillance log, every confidential informant. All of it crosses your desk, and you quietly share the most important parts with the cartel. But power attracts attention. One afternoon, a new face appears in the office. Special Agent Daniel Harper, transferred from Washington FBI liaison. Harper doesn't laugh at jokes. He doesn't go to after-work drinks. He reads files, every file. especially the ones connected to your investigations. One day you walk past the conference room and see something that makes your stomach drop. Harper is looking at your cases. Level 7. The investigation. The investigation starts quietly. No accusations, no confrontations, just questions. Harper begins reviewing seizure reports from the past 8 years. Cash amounts, evidence logs, informant payments. Something isn't adding up. Millions of dollars in seizures, but some of the accounting trails disappear. Then he looks at travel records. Agents who happen to be on vacation every time certain shipments move. Agents whose investigations never seem to lead anywhere. Your name appears too often. Harper requests permission to open a task force. The official goal: investigate cartel infiltration in Phoenix. The real goal: find the corrupt agents. You hear about it through Mitchell. He storms into your office. FBI opened a task force. How serious? Serious enough. From that moment on, everything changes. You stop using phones. You only meet cartel contacts face to face. You rotate cars. You destroy paperwork. But the hardest part isn't hiding from investigators. It's hiding from your own network. Because if someone gets arrested, they will trade names for freedom. And your name sits near the top of that list. Weeks turn into months. The investigation keeps expanding. Financial records, wire transfers, secret surveillance. Harper builds a timeline of corruption. And the timeline leads Level 8, the raid. It happens at 5:12 in the morning. You wake up to a loud crash. Your front door explodes inward. Flashlights flood the room. Federal agents don't move. You reach for the nightstand. But your hands are already being pulled behind your back. Cold metal cuffs snap around your wrists. You're dragged into the hallway. Neighbors watch from their doorways. Agents search your house. They open the safe. Inside are stacks of cash, more than you remember leaving there. In the living room, a man stands waiting. Agent Harper. He looks exhausted but satisfied. You should have taken the retirement plan, he says. You don't answer. He places a folder on the table. Inside are photographs, bank transfers, secret recordings. Even a video of you accepting a briefcase 5 years ago. Someone in the cartel turned informant. They wore a hidden camera. The case against you is enormous. Bribery, obstruction of justice, drug conspiracy, racketeering. The charges stack up to more than 300 years in prison. As they load you into the transport van, you realize something. The shadow network didn't protect you. It protected itself, and now it has cut you loose. Level 9, the replacement. Your trial takes 2 years. Every headline calls you the same thing. The most corrupt DEA agent in Arizona history. Former coworkers testify against you. Mitchell takes a plea deal. He gets 8 years. You get 25, federal prison in Colorado. Your days become identical. Concrete walls, steel doors, 23 hours in a cell. Sometimes reporters write stories about your case. Sometimes they don't. The world moves on. One afternoon, you sit in the prison recreation room watching the news. A young DEA agent appears on screen. He's standing beside a table of seized drugs, cocaine bricks, stacks of cash. The anchor calls it a major victory in the war on drugs. The agent looks proud, confident, exactly the way you looked when you first got your badge. Back in Phoenix, the DEA office has already replaced you. Your desk is empty for only a week. Then someone new moves in. A young agent, 24 years old, clean record, perfect academy scores. He believes the same story you once believed, that he's here to stop the drug war, that the system works. Outside the office, the drug trade keeps moving. Trucks cross the border. Warehouses fill with shipments. Money changes hands. And somewhere in the city, someone slides a sealed envelope across a table. An offer, just the beginning. Level 1.